All right, so welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash. This is a legendary episode, so I don't even think y'all understand how legendary this episode is, right? As somebody, I'll say, as a media personality, someone who, wants to take their talents to the next level, two of the people that I look at immediately, Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, right? Because I see their work ethic, how hard they grind, and I see, I'm like, that's what I look at, right? And just behind the scenes, when if you know King Vito or Don Vito, King Richard, who's one of our partners on the show, one of his mentors that he's never met is this gentleman that we have. We have Rushion McDonald, the Rushion McDonald. Brother, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be in your presence.
Thank you.
And so, for background, for those who don't know, the reason why I said, when I look at, Kevin Hart, I look at Steve Harvey, you are one of the architects or the main architect or one of the main architects that helped sort of launched Steve Harvey into superstardom.
Yes.
And I, the funny thing is I knew that prior to your name being as big as it is, right? Yeah. Because I'm from New York, right?
Right, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I used to do, fast shout out to my brother Earthquake, fast shout out to my sister Deja Vu. I used to do radio with them once a week. Afternoon drive. And so every Tuesday they used to bring me on, and I used to go in there and do a money segment. And then, obviously, WBLS, that was Steve Harvey's station,
that was
right?
my boy. Still his station.
Still is, right? Right, excuse me, still his station. But at any time Steve Harvey's name came up in that building, it did not come up without Rushion McDonald.
Yes.
Right? And so for those who don't know, who is Rushion McDonald?
I come from inner city, 6 sisters, 2 brothers. My father was a truck driver with 3rd grade education. My mom graduated from high school, so I'm just a regular guy that had dreams. And the dream was not to stay where I was born. And my company name is 3815 Media, and 3815 Media is the name of the house I was born in. It was a 2-bedroom shotgun house. If I know about a shotgun house from the South, if you open the front door, you shoot a shotgun through the door, the bullets go out the back door, don't touch nothing.
Right.
That's why they call it a shotgun house. Yeah. And so the 3815 Media is honoring my birth, honoring where I came from, because so many people feel that, people get the stereotype, when you come from those communities and they feel that they are not going to amount to anything because they're selling drugs, they're pimps, they're undereducated people. And I do that to let people know, because I go in a lot of high-profile meetings and people are very curious to where I get that name of my business from. And they usually sets them back a little bit in a positive manner, going, wow, that's a great story. Yeah, there's a lot of great stories that come out of the inner city. And I'm just one of the many, but I want to tell people every time I go into a meeting, I get to tell that story. Because they ask. Right. And I'm willing to tell, just like I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
And so that's a part of who Rushion McDonald is.
Yeah, I love that. And one of, in doing research for the interview, one of the fun facts that I never knew till today, right, is that you were actually a stand-up comedian.
Yes. And that's how I met Steve Harvey.
Okay.
Steve Harvey, I was working for IBM. My degree is in mathematics. My minor's in sociology. And I was working at IBM, and Steve Harvey came through Houston, Texas. He was my opening act. And so that's how we started our relationship. He was my opening act, and we sat down, and that's how we really bond. I had a natural marketing sensibilities, and I gave him some tips on how to market his brand, how to get out there, and he took them to heart, and we connected. I got to see when he was his own Showtime the first time when he did that famous Mike Tyson joke, and then I was sitting there proud, realizing that he was on a special journey, and he, of course. We really connected in 1990. He was named one of the top 7 comics in the country, and as was I, for Johnny Walker. And we competed in Los Angeles at the Improv, and that's how we reconnected in 1990. And we kind of stayed together ever since, because I opened a comedy club in Houston called Hip Hop Comedy Stop. He opened a club in Dallas, and then we used to play each other's clubs. And then in '92, he got an opportunity to do his own sitcom called Me and the Boys on ABC, and he asked me what I wanted to do, and I was really a pretty funny guy, one of the top comics in the country, and I told him I wanted to write, and it shocked him, he was like, okay, Rushion, you want to write? I said, yeah, I want to write. I want to be a writer, producer. That's what I really want. God just gave me a talent. You know what I mean? That certain journeys that are given to you doesn't mean that it has to be your final step.
Right.
And that's what frustrates a lot of people. A lot of people sit in their jobs right now and they realize that they can actually leave, but they feel that that's their final journey because they're making a certain amount of money, they have kids at home, or they have responsibility that kind of block their dreams, block their opportunity to succeed. When I come down and I talk to anybody like you, I always tell people, I am an example of a guy who will not be limited by what you see me doing now. I am never limited. I wake up with an opportunity. I wake up stupid with the ability to bring in new information. If you accept that information, then the challenges that are put before you are easily achieved.
Wow. And so now, you know, you're working with Steve Harvey. You're helping him, you know, launch his business. We fast forward, right? So. Talk to me all of the success, right? Because it's just so much, and I don't want to miss anything, right?
Well, here's the beauty. Okay, I want right now. I'm Stephen A. Smith is my man.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I want to make people understand that's one of my good friends. Met him in 2000.
Yeah.
When I was managing Steve Harvey, and in 2009 we reconnected when he had lost his job at ESPN, and I didn't realize how important I played a role in his downtime.
Yeah.
You know, and that's usually where I'm at, man. When Steve and I got back together, I was doing sitcoms. You know, I did Robert Townsend sitcom, I did Arsenio Hall sitcom, I did the twins, Tia and Tamara Mowry sitcom, Sister Sister.
As a writer and producer?
As a writer producer.
Okay.
And then I went on the Jamie Foxx show as a co-executive and producer, and I did consulting, producing work with Monique. So I had a run of all these legendary talents that you know about.
Yes.
And I was part of them, part of their lives.
Yes.
And they respected and brought me in as a talent. And so in 2000, Steve we kind of got together, and that was right before the Kings of Comedy movie. And we were sitting in an Italian restaurant, and we actually wrote the opening to the movie, that monologue. We wrote it in an Italian restaurant, and he had never done it on stage. That was his gift, man. He was so confident that he walked on stage, never said those jokes in front of anybody, and did it in front of that live audience twice. Of course, the second time was even stronger, and that's a cool backstory because of the fact that he's that gifted.
Yep.
And so that launched us into a radio deal in LA, and then 2005 we moved to New York.
Yes.
And as a syndicator, you know, and the backstory on that is that, you know, I just knew that he always had the ability to be bigger than what he was. And it was just not focused on African Americans. I always had that sense that his talents exceeded the audience that people perceived that he could entertain.
Yes.
And that was my mission. My mission was to cross him over. My mission was to understand that I worked at IBM. So I understood branding from a standpoint of a corporation. And so I felt that, why can't you treat that an everyday person? And so I went under the guise that I was going to treat Steve Harvey as a brand, like a company.
Yes.
Give the same rules, the same standards, the same expectations, and brand associations. And so one of the primary rules that I got was when I got the Disney deal for us. Because I figured if I could get the Disney deal with him, then guess what? Here's a comedian who was perceived from Def Comedy Jam, he's cussing, he's black. Now I'm about to put him in a relationship with the mouse.
Right.
You can't get no more friendly than that. It's white folks too. You know, white and the mouse, you in. You in.
Right.
And so that was really the turning point for his brand, because it allowed us to take on a different persona. And it was very accepting. The Fords deals came, the Home Depot deals came, and everything. And then the whole concept of the Neighborhood Awards, which we developed together, and which came as such an amazing a black event with it, because it talked about uplifting people in the community. And it was really the fact that when we did the book, the famous book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man.
Yes, that one, yes.
You know, I always remember that Stevie told me, he said, Rushion, I'm not writing a black book.
Yeah.
And so he had an idea that he didn't want to be locked into being a black comic. So I'm not going to take 100% credit like I was some genius. But he also had a certain drive that he wanted to be more than just a black comedian.
Yes.
And same thing with Kevin Hart. All these guys want to be more.
Right.
And they work to be more.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's a skill set that a lot of people want those dreams, and you see a lot of people that go to a certain level, they'll stop.
Yeah.
And it's hard work because, man, when you get there, man, it's really hard to stay there. I know that Steve and I were on top so long. It's hard being famous on a regular basis, man. It's hard being shot at from a competitive standpoint.
Right.
Not somebody physically shooting at you with a gun, but being challenged, being ripped apart, being socialized, being traumatized, being trolled on social media. And so Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man really was the breakthrough for his career. Because, you know, we got a deal with HarperCollins. They printed 33,000 books. They thought we'd sell a few books, maybe 100,000 books, and we sold those in the first week. And when it was all, my goal was to keep him as a #1 book on New York Times bestseller for 4 weeks. I figured if I could keep him #1 for 4 weeks, then we hear from Oprah. I figured, you know, because Ellen DeGeneres gave us our break. You know, she put him on the show, and that gave us numbers. So it's a chart to the madness. You know, when you're trying to do something unique, you can't sit around and expect ununique things to happen. It's all going to be unique. But I knew in order for Oprah to get our attention, we had to be #1 for 4 weeks. She called, and man, it changed his life, man. I mean, you can look on you can go to Amazon Books. And you can just see his book was just right. You can right in front of your eyes. You can go 20, 19. It was selling so many. We were selling like 60,000 books a day.
Wow.
It was utterly ridiculous how popular that book became, and it sold over 3 million copies or more, maybe up to 4 million now. Translated in 30 different languages.
Wow.
And that's when Will Packer called.
Wow. And so I want to unpack a little bit, right? Because you as, you know, having your own talent as a stand-up comedian, you know, you see, you know, have this friendship, you want to be a writer, you know, writer, producer. Like, you know, did you lose, or did you get disinterested in doing comedy? Did you say, hey, I want to continue to do writing, producing? Like, when did that shift for you?
I'm gonna tell you something. I was very talented as a stand-up comedian, okay? In 1992, Def's Comedy Jam, I just want to have my comedy club, and I was killing. I owned Houston, Texas. My whole goal of going back to Houston was to become a star in Houston. Because I was doing television gigs in L.A. and New York, but they were just television gigs. And then when Def Comedy Jam came out, I remember Bob Sumner said I wasn't black enough. He didn't think I could make black people laugh. And so they didn't allow me to do Def Comedy Jam. So I had to prove that I could make black people laugh. So I had to go to Oakland Comedy Festival, and I made the final. They go, okay, you can make black people laugh. And that's how I got Def Comedy Jam. That's how I was able to open the comedy club. And so Def Comedy Jam came through Houston, and Steve Hart, I hadn't saw Steve in years as a stand-up. I see him, knew he was hosting Showtime at Apollo, but I never saw him do stand-up. And so Joe Torre was hosting, and I went on stage. I lit that stage on fire. Fire! You hear me, dude? And so walked on stage to the standing ovation. Okay, you know, he's my boy, but I said, okay, some work ahead. He got some work left on that stage for you, brother. They introduced Steve's name, and he got a standing ovation before he walked on stage.
Wow.
I'm going like, okay, hold on. He hasn't even told a joke yet, and they standing for him. And he proceeded to do a whole routine of jokes that I would have never done. And right there, I knew that's what he wants to do for a living. I didn't have the commitment that he had as a stand-up. I was just gifted. And so when I talk to people about life and expectations, and when I made a commitment to walk away from stand-up, people go, "Oh man, you funnier than Steve Hart." Hey brother, okay, you can say that. Let me be who I'm going to be. So don't allow people to tell you what you can be. Don't be drugged into an opportunity that you don't feel comfortable with. I'm very comfortable being with Rushion McDonald. I'm very comfortable sitting here. Do I regret leaving stand-up? No. No, because in the end, that's not what I wanted to do. In the end, I'm doing what I want to do. I love sitting down with brands. I love talking to people about how to market. I know how to talk to individuals like you. You're a talent. You're a gifted individual. I love sitting down and going, what do you really want to do? And actually help you get there. And it's not even tied to money. Because I've never created a relationship based on how much money I can get. Because I know I'm gonna make money. And usually you make money how people value the relationship.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If people don't value, they're not gonna pay you.
Right.
I don't care who you think you are.
Right.
Who you think you are.
Yeah.
If they don't value who you think you are, you're gonna be a frustrated person. So your job is to create value in the relationship, then you get paid. And that's how life works.
Oh, that's a bar. That's a bar. so now, right? You know, you've had this successful career. You know, managing the talent, right? 2016 comes, and there's this reinvention that needs to happen. Talk to me about 2016.
2016 was, you know, Steve Harvey and I went our separate ways. And it was time, you know, because of the fact that he wanted to establish his brand, and he had ideas on what he wanted to do with his career, and I didn't know who Rushion McDonald was. I really didn't know. I knew Steve's blood pressure. I knew what he wanted for lunch, for dinner. I knew what time he got up. I knew what time he went to sleep. I knew what he wanted on top of his grits. I knew those things. I knew his habits. He knew my habits. So in 2016, when I left, I was very confused. I was very popular.
Yes.
You know, recognizable. People will look at me and say, I want to be Rushion McDonald. But Rushion McDonald didn't even know who he was. So right there is what most people in life stop.
Yes.
You know, fear takes over and say, hey, man, I'm not going to leave that job. Hey, man, I'm not going to leave that relationship. I'm not going to, because the opportunity I don't understand. I didn't understand the opportunity. I just know I had to change. And I had to trust that I will understand. But I did make mistakes because I didn't plan the exit, okay? I just went out on faith. And that's why I would tell people, you go out on faith, but there better be a plan attached to it.
Right.
It's gonna get pretty bumpy because eventually faith gonna dry up and then the plan gonna have to come taking over because that's how you're gonna generate revenue.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I went out there, so 2017, I made no income. I made no money because I was still trying to figure out who I was. People were going, I would go to meetings and people would expect Steve Harvey to come through the door right behind me. So I was still married to his brand. And so what happened to me was I eventually started denouncing the relationship I had with him because it was so overwhelming that it was suffocating my opportunities. Because everything, I had to figure out, how do I trust myself and move forward even though Steve Harvey is the dominant catalyst? You know, in other words, you know, it's like a quarterback who keeps trying to bring up what he did when he played. That's what I was dealing with. When I realized I'm not playing that game with him no more. So I had to figure out how to move forward. And that's when I started putting a plan in place. And that's when I launched Money Making Conversations. I was an award-winning baker. I started throwing my energies into that. And then I started surrounding myself with people who believed in me.
Absolutely.
That's the key. If you don't have people who believe in you, you will never make it, man. You have to have people hyping your beliefs, hyping your dreams, and telling you you're great. And if you don't have that, you're not gonna make it.
And then how I mean, what was that thought process like for you, right? Because I know there's somebody watching right now who might have had, you know, a lot of success. And it's not the first time because one of the parallels, because I remember myself, you know, being, you know, a CEO of a credit union and everybody's proud of me because I come from the projects in Harlem and they're like, oh my God, you did great. And I said, no, I want to be an entrepreneur. And they're looking at me like, are you crazy? Why would you leave this job, right? And so you had that opportunity. You're working at IBM. You quit IBM to be a stand-up comedian. People are like, are you crazy, right? Now, 2016, you're working with one of the biggest stars on the planet, not just, you know, on the planet. And you decide, all right, I need to you know, this is a new reinvention. Somebody's watching right now who they feel stuck, and they're like, I want to start over, but I put too much time. What do you say to a person like that?
I tell you, here's the deal. I'm gonna just tell you like that. If you're trying to be a doctor, you don't go to a mechanic. You don't. And what happens is that's how people get their advice. See, people don't know what an entrepreneur is, so they tell you, they talk to you based on your knowledge. They go, well, I wouldn't do that, because they don't understand it. They understand 9 to 5. They understand going to work at 8, going having a lunch, coming home. They understand that. So if you would have told them that you're going to work for another bank, they go, oh, good. But you're entrepreneur, it's like, what is an entrepreneur? So when I left IBM to say I was going to be a stand-up comedy, all the bells and whistles, who you think you are? You're not that funny. You're not Eddie Murphy. You don't look that good. Boy, you from Houston. You got an accent. All things broke out. And so you're walking out there with all that baggage of negativity. And so that's why I always tell people, I have different things I talk about in motivation. I tell people lead with their gifts, when I say that, I tell people trust yourself. Because when you lead with your gift, and I always tell people stop reading other people's success stories and start writing your own. And I say that because what happens is people will let their age stop them. They'll let their family, co-workers, loved ones stop them from pursuing their life or living their dreams. So that's what happens when people who have doubt. They're letting age get in their way. I'm 50, I can't change. I'm 60, I can't change. Oh, I got family. Okay, why are they gonna stop you from living your dream? My girlfriend or my wife don't want me to do that. Okay, that's the wrong girlfriend and wife in your life. Because in the end, and Cash, I'm gonna tell you this, man, people use the word selfish incorrectly. Every successful person is selfish. They're selfish in their desire to win. They're selfish in their commitment. But the balance is how you share that success with the people that you love. That's the difference. Now, if you're selfish and you're not willing to share, that's where the negative part pops up.
Right.
But if you're too selfish, I don't care who you talk to. You can talk to Elon Musk, you can talk to Buffett, they talk to you.
Right.
There is a selfish trait that drives you to be successful. And so what happens is people allow terminology to stop them from being successful, and I'm here to tell you, stop. I'm here to tell you, stop listening to people that don't understand your dreams. I'm here to tell you, if you're listening to them, stop because they're stupid. That's why mentors are important.
Yes.
Because mentors are important because they allow you to share that synergy, and they can go to. If you're trying to be an engineer, you go to an engineer talking about it.
Yes.
You're trying to be an entrepreneur, you talk to an entrepreneur. Do not talk to your mama about starting a business, and all she's been ever is your mama.
Right.
And so she's gonna tell you hesitation, gonna hit in. She know nothing about a bank loan. Same thing with your sister. So I come from a big family. So I've always done things that have been, in their eyes, unorthodox.
Yes.
And so now it's kind of part of the game, but they still don't know how I do it. Sometimes I don't know how I do it. I've done it because it just rote memory. It's like I have 24 hours in a day. I am going to use every hour. So if I go to bed at 12, I'm gonna get up at 4 because I gotta take advantage of it. I'm gonna tell you something, Cash. I don't like going to sleep. If I could figure out a way to just stay awake, brother, I'd be happy.
Yes, you're talking about language. You're talking about language.
I'd be happy.
You're talking about language. Yes, yeah. And so now, you start your own thing.
Yes, sir.
And how's it going?
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing. I bought a building. Fast forward now, it's 2021. In 2020, I was in a Spaces, which is like a WeWorks, and had my staff, glass, people walking by looking in there. You can't even go to sleep. You can't take a nap. And I wanted to start a management company. I wanted to do marketing and branding. It had all the perks. I was at Truist Park. Walk out and see the baseball stadium. It was beautiful.
Yes.
But I didn't feel I was legitimate. I felt I was still faking it to make it, and that's not me. My resume doesn't have to do that. And I'm not saying anything negative about anybody who's living that business lifestyle. I'm talking about Rushion McDonald.
Yes.
And so I started looking for a building. And then in the summer, I started looking at the building. And then in September, I bought a building. I bought a full building on an acre lot. And it's 40 parking spaces. I remodeled it. And I'm going to tell you something, man. Changed my life. And I wanted a building where I don't care if Cash came by, Beyonce came by, or President Biden. They walk in there, they're going to go, okay, this your building?
Yes.
That's the brand that I have now. My brand is tied to me. You go in there, you see autograph posters of Def Comedy Jam. You see autograph posters of Think Like a Man. You see Jill Scott Gold Platinum album on the wall. You see images of me and Steve when we was in 1993 at the Sold Out concert. You go in there, you see my image. You see my image awards. You know, all that is part of who Rushion is. And it has a full-blown kitchen. I have a staff of 10. And I love my life, man. I love my family, and so, but it's still not complete because, like Tom Brady, I want another Super Bowl.
Right. And so now, right? So 2016, you didn't know who Rushion McDonald, it was, and so now 2021, still not complete. You want the ring? What completes that? What completes Rushion McDonald?
I think with anything, Amazon wants to acquire new corporations.
Yes.
That's who I am. I'm a business.
Yes.
I'm acquiring things. I'm the COO of Stephen A. Smith's Mr. SAS production company. We're producing Stephen A's World on ESPN Plus. We got another project that we're doing with Chris Paul called Why Not Us, an HBCU project, and we're in talks to do another called Black Excellence. On my side, I have I'm probably it's gonna be announced in 3 weeks. 3 huge deals, partnerships, 2 television. One's going to be a documentary. So all these things, and this is not hype talk. This is real talk about that you announce in certain processes. I'm closing the deal with a local television network where Money Making Conversations is going to be a half-hour show here locally. Rushion's Kitchen is going to be a half-hour show where I'll be baking, and 90% of my social media followers are female because I am a cook and a baker. So I would finally take that to television, and it's going to be syndicated in the fall. Because that is, and so I'm just doing my thing, man. Plus, I have a HBCU radio network, which is an 1-hour show that's broadcasting, and I'll be on WCLK starting May 4th. That's a Tuesday where I'll be broadcasting Money Making Conversation on WCLK, and so, man, I am in a different place in my life, and so now Steve Harvey is not overwhelming me. And he's a part of my career. A positive. He's always been a positive part of my career. But in 2016, he was a detriment because that's all I had. That's all I was known for. So now he's a tremendous. As long as he stays successful, I'm blessed.
Absolutely. And so talk to me about your show, Money Making Conversations.
Yes, sir.
My language. Talk to me about that.
Which you will be on. I talk to my staff. But it's more than that, man. It's about my ability to talk to CEOs, celebrities, entrepreneurs, industry decision makers. You're the entrepreneur, you're the industry decision maker, you are a celebrity, and you're a CEO. So you're like they have the Oscars, the Emmys, the Tony. You're that. You're the EGOT.
The EGOT.
You know what I'm saying? The Grammy.
I'm speaking that into existence.
EGOT.
Let's go. You know you heard him first. You heard him.
You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to the EGOT right here, y'all. And so the shows. So I'm gonna tell you something, man. When I started in 2017, everybody was calling the show, Charlie Wills or Patti LaBelle. And so I was talking about, I didn't know what to say to them. I didn't know if they were calling me because they thought I was still managing Steve Harvey. They called me, I was going to get them on the radio show, or I called them going to get them on a talk show. And I told my staff, stop. I said, I don't know why I'm doing this show. Because these people are talking, I don't know what to say to them. And so I had to regroup. I moved the show from Houston to Atlanta. And that kind of redefined a presence for me and of who I was. And so in my location right now, in my building, I built a whole new studio. A whole big screen on the back, and it's so funny, and because I didn't want to do the Fox Soul look, that Zoom look. I could because it's whether it's Don Lemon or Kirk Franklin or Bishop T.D. Jakes, or anybody who calls a show, they will go, huh? I remember Terrence Terrell, who's a Motar on the progressive half-man, half-motorcycle. It was so funny. I was interviewing, he's also starring in Be Positive. He was watching, because they could see me set up, because I'm sitting at the desk, and they see all this, I have pictures on the wall of all of my gas, and they see there's awards behind me. They see this big old large screen. They go, hold up. Okay, hold on. This is not what they told me. Stop. I got to change room. I got to change room. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to set an example of production, of owning material that Tyler Perry has shown us can be done. And my goal is to sit down with individuals like you and say, hey, man, content. What you're doing with the content, let's see if we can take it someplace else, and you own it and take it to Seattle, take it to terrestrial households, free households, cable households. Because back in the day, when I started doing television, if you had a television show, if the network didn't want it, you were stuck. That's not happening today. Byron Allen has shown you that. Tyler Perry has shown that. And so we sit here, that's what Money Making Conversations is all about. It's the conversation that we have, everybody has. Whether it's about food for the kids, food when you go grocery shop, where you're using coupons, the car you're gonna buy. We all have money-making conversations all the time.
Absolutely.
And that's what I have with my guests.
Yes.
Well, I want to talk about their careers and allow them to drop nuggets, you know, whether you're Deborah Martin Chase, you know, the first African-American female to have a major deal at a studio, the first African-American female to ever have a $100 million movie with Courage Under Fire with Denzel Washington. These are the type of guests I bring on the show because I want their stories to translate into motivation.
Yes.
Translate an opportunity. That's what money-making conversations are. It's allowing you to understand that you are having money-making conversation. Let's turn it into relevancy. And the only way you can turn it into relevancy is by having a position of conversation that people want to respond to. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here not so much to motivate people, but to inform people because I don't like motivational information that doesn't allow you to see how you can achieve success yourself. Yeah. I'm a firm believer because I hate reading, because I read books all the time. You read a lot of books, you have this type of show. And I hate reading books and bringing guests on the show that don't, if they want to motivate you to be rich, but they don't have money in the bank.
Right.
They want to motivate you to be a success, but they're not on TV. Right. So why are you talking to me? Yeah. Because my resume, I'm the truth. Right. You know, once you have to sit up and be able, the confidence has to exceed, and you have to be able to tell somebody who you are. Absolutely. That's why I sit up and go, you need God. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because that's the truth. And so when you hear the truth, Cass, you have to be willing to say, accept it. Absolutely. And then tell somebody, I got this. I am.
And I'm going to tell you something, though, right? Because you don't even understand the power of your words just now. Because literally, right? So it's three of us on this show, right? Three partners. Myself, King Richard, and French Spencer. King Richard and myself, we argue with French Spencer, and I'm gonna say this on camera. We argue with him. We said, bro, why are we not taping this on Zoom? He said, no. We need the quality, right? Yeah, right? We need the quality of being inside the vault. And there were a lot of connections. There were a lot of people that we wanted to reach out to do the show, and they were willing to do it. But our partner, French, said, no, we're not doing that. And he was adamant about it. And so to hear you say that, you know, and to confirm that we made the right decision, because even though he pushed back and we were pushing back, we said, you know what, yes, let's wait and do the show right, because it's about ownership. Right. It's about content. Right. And you mentioned Tyler Perry. You know, and seeing what he was able to do. Can you talk to us a little bit or expound more on that, like ownership and, you know, owning your content? Like when we look at Oprah Winfrey and how she became a billionaire because she owned her content and was able to license it out, and Tyler Perry owning his content, and then now money-making conversations, right? You own that content. You have your own studio, you know, billion-dollar brand. Like talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, the thing about it is that Tyler Perry is something, he's a different beast. Yeah. Okay, Tyler Perry is, I remember I met Tyler Perry on his first movie, because Stephen Harvey and I was doing radio in LA. And I remember, you know, people wanted me to meet him. You know, people always have wanted me to meet people. Hey, Rushion, you need to meet this guy. Rushion, this guy needs to talk to you. And I've always been in a position to help people. And I remember when the movie went, we talked to him on Friday, and the movie went #1, and I contacted people. I said, Tyler, we need you back on the radio Monday. And he asked me why. I go, to sell more tickets. And he came back on the radio Monday, and that's me. It had nothing to do with me making money, more so to do with showing you how you can be great. And the same thing with Will Packer, with Stomp the Yard. I remember when that movie came up, I had nothing to do with Will Packer. And I said that Stephen Harvey and I was on radio in New York City. I said, Steve, let's make this movie #1. I said, let's make this movie #1. Wow. And the thing about it, it became #1. Yes. And Will Packer didn't know me from anybody, but he had this guy sitting over there going, let's use the blessings and our skill set to make it #1. Fast forward, he's the guy who approached us to do Think Like a Man and Think Like a Man 2. Yes. Took both those movies #1 based on a relationship with a guy I didn't know, but I was inspired based on the ability and the position that God gave me through hard work to say, let's make this dude movie a box office hit. And we did it, man. We did it, and it translated into his greatness, which in turn translates to what I'm going to say. And what I'm saying, when I look at this positioning, is that's why I bought the building. I bought the building, man, because you can't tell me what I can't do. If you walk in my building right now, you'll see lights and cameras around my kitchen. I have a full kitchen in my building. I got the oven and everything. I can cook anything. I cooked it yesterday. I cooked for my staff hot water cornbread. I cooked them black-eyed peas and white rice and some smothered chicken and cream sauce. That was their lunch, along with raisin bread pudding. That's what I do. Lights come on, I just start cooking. So that gets shot whenever I feel like going in the kitchen. Go to my basement, completely built out studio, and I can walk in there and I can record. It doesn't look like a Zoom look. And I was very dependent because my vision was to syndicate the show.
Yes.
And I felt, okay, if I'm gonna syndicate the show, I can't look like I'm doing Zoom.
Right.
So when people zero in, you'll see a big backdrop. I saw the way David Muir was doing his show. So my show comes in just like David Muir with that big old world backdrop, and it zooms right into me right here. And then when you look at me, you see all these famous people that have been on my show. And so I can see people that go, I can see when they're looking at me, they're going, who is this guy? You know,
right.
And that's what I want. I want the who is this guy? Because if you don't know, now you know, and then it allows them to calm down. Because a lot of people don't know me when they come on the show. Whether you're Dr. Ashton, you know, from NBC Medical, they come on the show, and Ann Burrell from Food Network, and it's so many people that I don't know that come on the show, and I build these relationships, and they come back. And Donatella Alpea, one of my favorite people, Food Network, a star, NBC Today Show. And it's really, I just interviewed Patrice Covington and Rebecca Noemi Jones from the Aretha series Genius, and came into my studio. They come through Zoom, but look at you on that big old screen behind me, and then I'm in front of you talking, and it's just a beautiful thing, man. I can't wait to get you on there so you can see what I'm talking about. And in between you go, you're not lying, man.
Absolutely.
This is different, dude. This is, because you're a star. And I want people to feel, I don't want people to feel like they're just calling in on the Zoom, because the technology is not going to change. And so as soon as I walk in this studio, I go, y'all syndicating this show? As soon as I said that, I haven't met you at all. First time, y'all syndicating this show? Because that's how I am. I'm trying to say, okay, you need to do this. Because that's what God has allowed me to do, provide information. And so my goal is to get you syndicated. And guess what? Had nothing to do with this interview. You don't know? Okay, go talk.
Absolutely. Such a blessing, such a blessing. And so now, you've had this great career, successful. When you think back to Rushion's 18-year-old self, what advice are you giving him?
I'm gonna tell you something, man. I'm gonna answer two things. I am here because of two school teachers, Georgia Nelson and Linda Trader. Georgia Nelson was my math teacher. Linda Trader was my biology teacher, chemistry teacher. And they saw the genius in me. And I'm gonna use that word genius because you don't do everything I've done in my life and be an average thinker, okay? And so they kept challenging me to be great when I wanted to be average, and that's why I always look at everybody. So when I was 18 years, I'm gonna just tell you this, I am the same person that I was 18 that I am now. I just know who I am. And so 18, I didn't know. Everything when 18, I was using words like luck, right place at the right time, because you don't trust anything. That's why I respect people who get it early on. Like, see, you're younger than me. See, I so respect you because you got it. I didn't trust Rushion until I was in my 40s. But all the way I was being successful. And I was using other adjectives to describe this success that had nothing to do with my success. And so 18 years old, I've been motivating people. I've been doing big concerts. I've been convincing people in the thousands to show up for parties, show up for events, because I was going into radio stations and convincing them to do co-branded promotions. I understood radio. I've taken radio stations from number 16 as an individual to number 1 in the market in Houston. I've been number 1 in Chicago, Detroit, New York, Miami, DC, Los Angeles. So that layer of success started when I was 18. Because when I walked out of my high school, I wanted to be a forklift driver. Because when I was 15, the first guys that I met outside of my father were forklift drivers. Because that's the first job he gave me. I figured, wow, that's what I want to be. And I don't care what my teacher said to me, I left high school. I got a job as a forklift driver.
Right.
And because I thought that was my end game.
Yeah.
Be a forklift driver. I'm be like my boys,
Right.
And fortunately, that didn't work out because that wasn't what I was meant to do. And so I was sitting down with my teacher, Linda Traylor, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life. And I said, I sure wish I would have filled out an application to go to college. Because I went down to Southern and I wanted to go there in Baton Rouge. And she said, Rushion, she said, you can go to the University of Houston. I go, too late. I didn't fill out a high school. I didn't fill out an application. She said, yes, you did. And she had gotten me to sign an application, and she submitted it to the University of Houston, and I had gotten accepted and didn't even know it.
Wow.
That's how I got in college.
Wow. I love that. And you said something very important, that you're the same person, right? But you just didn't know yourself. And so knowledge of self is really key. There's somebody watching right now who, is probably in that same position. Like they have this burning desire. They know they may have some talent, or they know they want to do something different, but they don't have that knowledge of self. What advice would you give to somebody on how to discover themselves, how to, find who they are and their purpose and what they're supposed to be doing?
Well, I always tell people about this, look at my life. I was Jason Lyrics. I didn't want to do that, but I did it anyway. The problem I have with the average person is they stop. They say what they can't do before they even unable to do it.
Right.
So many people stop themselves and they think this is what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, what if I just said I thought I was supposed to be as funny as Steve Harvey? I wouldn't be sitting here because that wasn't what I was supposed to do. Yeah. You have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. Only defining things that can stop you. If you can't sing, you can't sing. If you can't sing like Whitney, you can't sing.
Right.
If you can't rap like Jay-Z, you can't rap.
Right.
Okay. If you can't run like Jerry Rice, you can't run.
Right.
Certain things can stop you, but people still do it.
Right.
Out there just leading the foolish lane.
Right.
So I tell people who are following dreams is to position yourself. I always tell people, I'm gonna tell you something, man. You got to believe in yourself first. And when I say that, is that somewhere along the line, whatever talent you are saying you're capable of, it has to permeate and radiate and relate to somebody, and they gotta want it. See, I'm sorry. If you are talented at something and nobody wants it, stop doing that because nobody wants it. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
So when in 1992, I was a successful comedian. And I moved back to Houston, Texas, and I said, I'm gonna bet on Rushion. I said, I'd done Def Comedy Jam, and I said, what do you see when you're gonna bet on yourself? I said that I was gonna make myself the biggest talent in Houston and make Hollywood bring me back. And I did that.
Yes.
And so I bet on myself. I opened a comedy club, hip-hop comedy style, and I put my tickets on sale on Monday. It was sold out in an hour on Thursday. And I shaped myself. I worked. And I'm gonna tell you, it didn't start out like that. I mean, it was the first week, it was 5 people. I could have quit. Then it was 15 people. Then it was 75, because the place holds 300 people.
Right.
So if it was 5 people, I had to go on stage and perform to 5 people.
Yeah.
And so what happens, people have standards, and they give up because they feel that that's not their expectations, or people might talk bad about them. Dude, I didn't care what you thought.
Yeah.
When I went on stage, I performed like it was a full house. And eventually, it was a full house. And eventually, I walk out there, there was a line outside the door, and everybody came there. Beyonce, I remember when they were Destiny's Child, they performed at my place. It was so many people who came in that place that stopped in, and it made me realize I had star power. And that what you need. You need validation. Yes. And so when I answer your question is, what are you doing to have relevancy in the thing you say you're great at? If you say you're a great athlete, who's saying that?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you say you're a great mathematician, who's saying that? Now, if you're the only person saying that, there's a problem.
Right.
You have to position yourself to rejection or honest communication. You have to be in a position to be told that. And so if you're willing to walk in an environment, say, just use stand-up comedy. If you say you're a funny stand-up and you're not willing to go on stage to develop the craft to be a funny stand-up, then stop. And so there are people out there that walk up to me all the time, want to ride, Okay, I got one script, but it's the same script.
Right.
10 years later.
Right.
It's dirty.
Right.
You know, they got headshots. You know, but the headshot they have it for 10 years. Don't even look like the headshot.
Yeah.
You go, who just walked in the room? That's me. No, it ain't.
Yeah.
This ain't the person right here. You
Right.
need new headshots.
Right.
And so I'm just telling you, so many people hold on to dreams so long.
Yes.
Because they don't want to admit that's not their true calling, that's not their true gifts. It's like a preacher preaching in an empty church.
Yeah.
And the church can't grow if nobody hears what you have to say.
Yeah.
And I'm committed to the whole dream of that. When I was 18, I walked out of a high school, and I wasn't afraid to check out the unknown. I wasn't afraid to the new experience. I worked at a Jewish deli when I came out of college. My roommate was a white dude. You know, I came from a black neighborhood where I got on a black city bus. We went to the black side of town. I got on the same city bus. It took me to the black side of town. And so, but that didn't stop me from wanting to see what life had to offer. I've never been afraid of experience, a new thing. I've never been afraid of the unknown. And so many people who are not successful, so many people who are listening to me, you're afraid.
Yeah. And I wanna make sure y'all caught that though. That was a super big bar, right? And so it like you have to put yourself in the position to be rejected, to be
Come on now.
That's a bar. That's a bar. Don't miss that. You gotta put yourself in the position, because if you're saying that you are that, then prove it.
Yes.
Get it validated.
Yes.
You can't be the best if you're the only one saying you're the best.
Man, LeBron do it every day. Michael Jordan did it every day.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, he said, okay, you think I'm not that good? I'm gonna leave you, New England, and go to Tampa.
Yeah.
And so people do it all the time.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, but in life, let's bring it down to the lower level.
Yeah.
You know, you could do it at IBM, you can do it at FedEx, you can be the best UPS driver.
Yeah.
You can be. But see, what happens is people don't realize that it's not so. The person you are working with is actually your competitor. And I look at you as if we were working at IBM together, if we were working at FedEx together, if we were working at Post Office, any job, I would look at you as a business. And my job is to see if I can outsell you. How does that happen? It means I have to outwork you. Now, sometimes that's not tied to extra pay, but that's not my goal.
Right.
My goal is to outwork you.
Right.
And so my outwork you is gonna lead to more pay.
Right.
I know that. And so
Right.
what happens is people go to jobs and they associate themselves with a crew of people that don't have that mentality.
Yes.
They'll tell you stuff like, man, you work too hard. You know they're not paying you for that.
Yeah.
You come in too early. You're making us look bad.
Right.
If you hear any of those statements from people you're hanging out with, stop hanging out with them. Because they have no aspirations to be great.
Yes.
And that's all I'm talking about.
Yeah.
My life, man, when I wake up in the morning, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and people go, ooh. And I'm telling you, and let me tell you something. I don't like getting up at 4. It ain't a happy moment. I'm gonna tell you something.
Right.
I get up at 4. I don't just I'm up.
Right,
No.
right,
I get up. I go.
right.
I get up and go. Really, Rushion?
Right,
Really,
right.
really. And I turn off the alarm because I put it in my bathroom. So it's a long walk to get to my bathroom.
Yeah.
Turn it off. I look in the mirror. I wash my face immediately, and I go, okay. And then it allows me to take my body into perspective, my life, and I go and I read the newspaper, I go and stretch, and so it's about 4:30 now, by 5, and then, but if I don't do that, if I wake up at 6, then I've lost that wake up period that was mine.
Absolutely.
See, here's the thing is that you got to have time in your life that's yours.
Yes.
When I get up at 4, I ain't worried about nobody. Ain't nobody calling me.
Yes.
Ain't nobody, and my wife ain't getting out of bed.
Yeah.
She don't move.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
She's so used to it. She don't even act like I just get up.
Right.
And so that lets me know it's my time.
Yes.
And I get up, shut the alarm. She never complains.
Yeah.
I don't think she's so used to it. That's the process.
Yeah.
He gonna finally I can get some rest. And I'm happy. And so I just tell people that when you're trying to be successful, look back when you were 18 to 23.
Yeah.
Hear me this, y'all. That is who you are. See, what happens is people go through life, they go to 30, and that whole process, you might have met a person who you're married or you dated, you might have a child, might have got joined the military, and that took you off course to what you really wanted to do between 18 and 23. When you were fearless, when you had these dreams that people questioned. And so what happens is the resume that you have is not who you are.
Yeah.
And so that 18 to 23, if you really want to be happy in your life, if you really want to achieve your aspirations, think about who you wanted to be between 18 and 23. That's who I am. I am making money off of that kid between 18 and 23. I am that. I know who that guy is. I look back and I go, I don't understand how I knew all those things. But 18 to 23. So when people ask me about themselves, I always tell them, what do you want to do when you're 18, 23? And then they take a moment back and go, I'm not doing what I want to do. Well, go do it.
Right.
Because you're the only one stopping yourself.
Yeah.
Because you've allowed roadblocks. Roadblocks can be your family.
Yeah.
Roadblocks can be maybe your health. Roadblocks can be working at a job you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Those are roadblocks. And you have to remove those roadblocks to be the person that you can be in your life before you die. Because you're going to die. See,
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And that's why I understand why people are not in a rush
Yes.
to be successful.
Yes.
I'm
Let's talk.
teasing
Let's talk. Yeah.
I don't put nothing off, brother. No.
Yeah.
Rushion lives every day to the fullest.
Yes.
To the fullest.
Yes.
And my staff knows that. My family knows that. And I'm happy to say I know that.
Yes.
Because you are going to, that's one clock you can't run from.
Right.
And so with that being said, with that big carrot stick sitting out there, knowing you're going to die, your number one job should be trying to live your life to the fullest.
Absolutely.
Trying to drain every avenue of opportunity in it and drink it.
Yes.
And if you do that, I swear to you, you'll be a positive person.
Woo! Woo! Big bars, big bars. All right, oh my, you are giving us the gospel today, and so I want to have money-making conversations with Rushion.
Okay,
right?
cool.
And so when you think about all the success you've had, all the money you've made, what is the most extravagant thing you've bought with money?
Private jets. I would tell you this. This is when I knew a defining moment in my life. Was Steve Harvey, J. Anthony Brown. We did a concert in Houston at the Music Hall in Houston, Texas, in 1994. And it was March of 1984. And I wrote him a check for $39,000. I went. I said, "You're writing a check." To somebody for $39,000. That's when I knew I was going to live a different life. That I had the ability to write that check, and I was nobody. That was the first concert I ever threw, and I realized that there was money out there that was a little different, and I was going to get it. That was the check that I wrote that changed my life in 1994. Music Hall, writing a check to Steve Harvey for $39,000.
Wow. And then so you think about the impact, right? What is the most impactful thing you've done with money?
I think the most impactful, I set up my school, University of Houston. I wrote them a check for $250,000 for a foundation for math and science and students of optometry, for minority students, students of color, African-American students, to pursue an opportunity to get their undergraduate degrees at the University of Houston. That's the most impactful thing I've done with money from a standpoint. That's a legacy, it's an endowment. So when I die, it's still going to be there. And so that was important to me to achieve that. The important thing, Cash, is when I'm sitting here with you, man, and allowing myself to speak now, because, the Rushion of 2016 could not have had this conversation with you. But Rushion of 2021 can have this conversation because it's tied to honesty. It's tied to, I can tell you my flaws. I can tell you my mistakes. I can tell you I didn't make any money in 2017. In 2017, I was trying to tell people it was all good. But it wasn't all good because I didn't know who the hell I was. And so when you start talking about money, it's not so much the money because I got it all. I got the G550, I got the G550 and the G500. I got a Porsche Macan, I got a car here, I got a house here and a house there, And so I'm going to give me a house in Colorado. I'm going to tell you that right now because that's my favorite state. And I don't snow ski either. I just want to see snow. I would say the most defining purchase was me purchasing my building here in Atlanta, Peachtree Corner.
Love that.
Because of the fact that and I paid cash for it, and because I wanted to.
Yes.
And so that defined me because it was like the ultimate stamp that this is what I want to do with my life.
Yes.
The commitment. I talk about commitment a lot in this conversation.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to commit to yourself.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you have to bet on yourself, and you don't even know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
And so I would say recently buying a building, academically, the endowment of $250,000 to the University of Houston, the check that I wrote that told me I could make a lot of money in my life was the check I wrote for Steve Harvey in 1994 for $39,000.
And then so, you know, when we think about, you know, all of the different thought processes around money, there's a lot of money myths. Money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work hard for money. Dispel a money myth for me. Dispel one for me. You know, I want to hear a money myth that just simply isn't true.
I think that the ultimate money myth is that hang around people with money and you're gonna make money. That's not true. I would tell you this, that success does upgrade the type of people you talk to.
Yes.
If it's just like Tupac said, you can't buy a big house in the ghetto because somebody gonna break in it.
Right.
And so the ultimate money myth is that association doesn't necessarily breed success because people are gonna challenge while you're around that. And I'm gonna tell you an honest story. It's like when people call me, I don't have casual conversations. I say, first of all, I'm gonna ask you why you call.
Yeah.
Because what you cannot do, Cash, when you call me is ask me how I'm doing. I actually know how I'm doing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay, that's not part of this conversation.
Right.
Why are you calling me?
Right.
Okay, because it has to be something that you want so I can move on with this conversation.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I would say the big myth is that successful people don't have casual conversations.
Right.
We don't, because we have conversations that move to the next destination of opportunity.
Absolutely.
We're opportunity-driven people.
Absolutely.
And so that means that anybody we're talking to calms us down. Like for instance, I'll have a conversation with you, and we can go eat dinner, we can go on vacation, because I know you are never going to ask me a question that forces me to think.
Right.
If we have conversation, it's going to be about uplift. It's going to be about, did you hear about this?
Yeah.
You go, man, thank you.
Yeah.
And so you have the big myth is you cannot be hanging around successful people and be successful. You have to validate your success to stay committed to it. Otherwise, the money's not going to come.
I love it. All right, I love it. All right, so we're going to do our lightning round. So we're inside the vault, literally inside the vault, and we have a lightning round in which we take bank terms, right, and we spit them at you, and we flip them, right? And so the first one we're going to say is deposit slip, right? When you walk into a bank, you use a deposit slip to put money in the bank. But here inside the vault, deposit slip, we're gonna say money mistake, right? So deposit slip. Give me one time you made a money mistake or a deposit slip up.
I would say that taking money out of my insurance annuity. Instead of taking a loan against it. Because what I've learned is that, and this is what people do who have money, is that pay off, because see, once you take the money out, you can't put it back.
Right.
And I had it at 4% interest, okay? And you ain't get 4% interest nowhere.
Right.
So a money mistake was, I didn't listen to the advice of somebody saying, hey, Rushion, just take a loan against it. I go, loan? I'm gonna take a loan.
Right.
But I wish I would have listened to that person, and I would have paid that money back, and I would have had that money at 4%. And even when I would have had the loan against it, it still wouldn't have exceeded the 4% rate that I was getting.
Right.
So that's a money mistake that I made. A deposit slip.
Yeah, that's a deposit slip. All right, next one we're gonna talk is a charge-off, right? And so a charge-off is when someone owes money, they're not getting the money back. They have to, the bank has to charge it off. Here inside the vault, what people or mindset did you have to charge off during your journey?
I would say, I don't know. I don't have the people I grew up in my neighborhood. I don't know them, and because in life, you just can't hang on to your journey, and the journey allows you so many different visitors, and then you have to pick the visitors that benefit you the most. That's the selfish part I was talking about.
Yes.
And so you can be friends with people you grew up with, but they cannot, if they're not part of the success process, they're just friends. And so my whole thing is that my charge off to anybody is that you have to, in order to be successful in life, you can't hold on to the relationships that don't benefit you. So that's the charge off. Now that sounds really cold, doesn't it? Okay, whatever. But if you don't accept those values that I told you, then you won't win. You know, you can talk about LeBron and his friends, but LeBron educated them.
Absolutely.
They went to school. So he improved their value. And now their value is paying off with him now.
Absolutely.
So these are not the friends that he grew up with. He improved their value through education and through relationships, and they're all powerful black men today. That's all I'm saying. If you think that person you grew up with and you a multimillionaire or billionaire, they have no benefit because they can't talk to you. And so if they come to you, the conversations are going to be short, and it's going to be another equal conversation. And I don't ever want to talk to somebody that I don't feel can benefit from my conversation. And I don't.
love it.
My charge off is that, hey, the people who come with you can always stay with you.
I love that. And then last but not least, trust account, right? And so, everybody wants the trust account, wants to be a trust fund baby. That's where, all the things are in reserve. When you think about your journey and where you are, who's part or what mindset, what people are part of that trust account?
I would say, when I was growing up in life, man, there were always people that saw something in me that I didn't see. I was a lazy person. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I thought that I didn't understand hard work. And so the people who stayed in me, that poured into me, and are the people that made Rushion today. And so I always tell people, I tell my staff, I tell anybody, if I'm difficult to work with, I'm cool. All right.
Right.
If you feel, well, Rushion, boy, he's hard to work with, I'm cool. I'm doing my job. Because I swear to you, Cash, nobody who's ever left me, they come back and say thank you. They said, now I see. Now I understand. Because my job is to let you know I'm preparing you. Because I'm not expecting you to be a millionaire working for me. I'm not expecting you can't start your business working for me. So I'm preparing you for how it is to make it out in the real world. I've never had anybody come back to me and say, wow, I learned nothing from you. My goal is to teach. My goal is to let people trust. Because people saw something in me. And then when I die, there's going to be a lot of sad people because of the fact that they know they're going to be sad because they didn't get to let me pour in them. And they're going to be sad because of the fact that they now understand the value I brought to them in life. And they're going to be sad because I'm gone. And I'm cool with all that sadness. Because I tell you a story. In 2015, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm gonna tell you something. It was interesting because every year when you get over 50, you go, you get every exam to stay alive. A doctor means something to you. When you get over 50, you're going to go in there. When you're in the 20s, I don't got time for the doctor. You get 50. You're going to philosophy exam, everything. You trying to stay alive. And I went in and I did my annual exam, and doctor found nothing. And then I went to my dentist, and they did an annual exam, same dentist, and they did nothing. And I went to get my blood, and this doctor, she was looking at me, she said, I said, I'm here to do your blood, but can I just touch your neck? And she found a lump right here. And she said, what's that? And I'd always, I work out a little bit, not working out. I ain't nobody out there lifting weights. If you follow me in the gym, you be laughing at me. Rushion, really? 20 pounds? Yeah. That worked for me. Steve Harvey's always laughing at me. Boy, it's a shame what you do with weights. He over there with 50, 60, I'm over 20. Hey, bro, this works for me. Okay, rotation. That's what I'm out. Rotation. And so, and so diagnosed, I had cancer. And I tell anybody about when someone tells you have cancer, you don't think about who survived cancer. You just think about death. And you think about your life, and you think about what you've accomplished in your life. And I tell people this story because if God would have said, that's it, I was cool. because I have done what I wanted to do in my life, man.
Yeah.
And that's all I want people to do.
Yeah.
Do not hold back, man.
Yes.
Do not sit at home debating your dreams.
Yeah.
Do not let people who don't understand your aspirations get in the way of them.
Yeah.
Do not allow money to stop you from fulfilling your opportunities to be successful.
Yeah.
Because money is the least of your worries.
Yeah.
As long as you have health, as long as you have commitment, and as long as you have a plan, you will win.
Yeah.
And so I say that story to say that I'm cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with my life.
Yeah.
I will continue to do great things with my life. I will continue to change the game with my life.
Yes.
So the trust I've created in my life has been because I've lived the life that I want to live.
Yes.
And I'm not ashamed of anything I've told people.
Yes.
I may have been disappointed because I've said some things that hung around with me for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Boy, you shouldn't have said that.
Right,
that was pretty bad. That was
right,
pretty cold. You,
right.
Rushion, you said some things, but why did you say that?
Right, right.
That stuff hung around with me.
Right.
But the life of being able to tell people the truth, and that's the blessing of money-making conversation, because I've had so many people come on the show and go, Rushion, and I tell you this a little funny story. I was, and there's so many stories. I was interviewing this writer, and a successful writer, and she said, Rushion, you don't remember me, do you? I go, no. She said, we met in Pasadena, Felicia Henderson. I said, Felicia, that's my girl, Felicia Henderson. And she said, and I was in the backyard, and her backyard was doing a barbecue. I go, yeah, I remember I being in the backyard. And I came over to you, and you said, and she said, Felicia, you need to talk to Rushion. She said, well, I came over because Felicia said I need to talk to you. I said, what you want to talk about? She said, well, I'm having a problem. I got an offer to write a book, and I think it's too low. I said, has anybody else offered you any money? She said, no. So I said, why are you talking to me? And I walked off. She said, she went and took that offer, and 13 books later, she was on my show to thank me.
Wow.
Because my whole thing is that is a lot of people sit around and don't hear the final truth. The truth is that what are you debating? This offer. Has anybody else gave you a check?
Yeah.
Now, if this was the offer is, take that offer so you can move on.
Right.
Somebody debating me. You came to the wrong person.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, you need to get off my face.
Right.
You telling me somebody offering you money, but you think it's too low, but ain't nobody else offering you another check.
Right.
Well, what is too low?
Right.
Because obviously that's the best you can get.
Right.
You was laughing so hard on the radio. I said, I remember that story.
Oh, I love
and that's
it.
what I tell people all the time, man.
Yeah.
So many people sitting around here, man, debating and looking over in the other person's yard and worrying about, that's what they get. You don't know what they got.
Right,
People
absolutely.
lie.
Absolutely.
And so I am the total God's truth is that, that's a question you should ask some people sometime, man, is the truth. When you told somebody the truth, because that's another show. Because I'll be talking to you a long time.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you, if I tell you you're a neat God, I'm telling you because I'm telling you the truth.
Thank you.
God gave me that talent, man.
Thank you.
God gave me the ability to walk in a room and tell people who they are.
Yes.
And I know that for a fact. I can walk in the room, brother, and tell everybody what they're going to be and what they can be.
Yeah.
Now, whether they want to achieve it, that's their problem.
Absolutely.
That's their effort.
Absolutely.
And that's the blessing of who Rushion McDonald is.
Man, I love it. And so, what's next? What's next, man? So much greatness.
The next is going to be, syndicating my TV show.
Yes.
Some large documentaries are going to jump off with my name attached to it. I want to build a brand of HBCUs, continue to promote the black excellence that comes out of HBCUs and get it the rightfully deserved the respect.
Yes.
And nobody's doing anybody favors because they went to HBCUs. They're doing this country favors.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's my mission. My mission is to glorify and magnify the greatness of HBCUs.
Yeah, I love it. I promised y'all this was gonna be a powerful interview, and it was that plus more. Brother, thank you so much. This was so powerful. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all you do. If people wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
MoneyMakingConversations.com. Go there. It's not connecting with me. It's going there, interview, and listen to great interviews from great people like you who are just sharing their stories, sharing their nuggets. I always tell if you want to be successful, listen to people who are successful, but don't try to live their lives because your journey to success and my journey to success are different. Peel off what they did, the energy points, the hard working points, when they didn't allow, when they made sacrifices, because the sacrifice part is what most people run away from.
Yeah.
They really want to live life based on the lottery. They want some lucky tickets, they want some lucky numbers, and that's not life.
Yeah, yeah.
Powerful, powerful. So make sure moneymakingconversations.com. Check out the legend, Rushion McDonald. We are closing the vault. Thank y'all so much for tapping in and tuning in Inside the Vault with Ash Cash. I'm going to see y'all next time in God's will. Same time, same place. Peace.